Nkụ dị na mba na-erere mba nni. Ife onye nwere ka o ji eme nganga. This Igbo adage is just trying to tell us that when we look within ourselves, when we look within the things that are in our environment, what God has given us, the resources, the natural materials that we have in our natural environment, then we can use those environments to develop ourselves. So when we look at the Igbo system, the Igbo perspective, the Igbo way of living, the Igbo customs, the Igbo traditions, what are those things that we can use and use those things to develop our country, to develop our nation, to develop our state, our communities and villages? So amongst all these things that Igbo people have, because I talk about spirituality and I talk about culture, so I can basically list so many mineral or natural resources that we have, things that we can even use tourism to boost our natural environment, because we have very beautiful streams that we can basically use those streams and basically draw tourist attractions. We can start producing vegetables and be exporting them. We can make our apple and export it to countries. So we have numerous natural resources, or is it our ahunji, what we use as our natural Igbo sage? So there are things that we basically have, but there are systems that instituted or gave rise to the prevalence of all those natural resources. God first, obviously. Chuku first, obviously. But within our system, we understand that when interacting with deities, we are also interacting with God. We are also interacting with the chi, or the chi which resides within that deity, and from there we are talking with all of creation, the natural interpretation of the divine. This is the Igbo mentality. So when we talk about Igbo deities, how can we use these deities to develop ourselves? How can we use these deities to make our countries, to make Biafra land different, and to make Biafra land great? So this is what I'm going to be discussing today. And if you're new to this channel, don't forget to follow this page. Don't forget to also subscribe. And if you want me to work on any concept in Igbo spirituality, feel free to let me know about it. Let's begin. Currently, there is a development that is happening in Ekulobia. So around that place, the Anambra state government wants to build a bridge. So according to what I heard, they said that that particular road is like a 3-point access road. So they need it to connect some kind of a bridge, so that while people, pedestrians and cars, they move under the bridge, and there will also be like an overhead kind of thing they want to like create in Ekulobia. But the only problem there is that they need to demolish an ancestral heritage, an ancestral shrine, before they are able to basically achieve that development. So there is this conversation that our Igbo deities against development. Like, why can't they just remove the deity, and by removing that deity there, they can basically do something like that? Because it's a welcome development, because we want our states, our communities to look like Lagos. We have to basically begin from basically making good roads and accessible roads and all those things. So when the demolition started, the people that worship the deity there had to place an omo, and an omo in Igbo culture symbolizes some kind of a barricade. It's telling you that you shouldn't get into that enclosure. So this is what it symbolized. So the chief priest and adherents went and placed that omo at that entrance, basically telling people to basically back off, even the contractors. So the story here is that people are now kind of having this conversation. Should they demolish this place? How can we do it and do it right? Because even though Christianity, church and all those things have basically been adjusted in our system, ordinary is still ordinary. All those things eventually become a problem. They could destroy that place without going through the natural or the right way of doing it, and it will be a problem for anybody that is going to go through that route. It could lead to a high increase of accidents and deaths surrounding that environment. So there is need for the Equilobia indigenes and the government and all to be very cautious in dealing with those kinds of ancestral sites. So what is happening here is that people were like of the assertion that yeah, we want development, but we're not ready to make the necessary sacrifices. There are ways in how we handle these things in Igbo land. So first of all, this particular incident, it is not even the first incident. It has happened countless times. So in some situations it was done right, and in some situations it was basically really messed up that system. But how do we? So places like Nkwonewi, for instance, that place was formerly known as Abo Edo. It's a gift by her husband Ezemewi Ezedoga in Nnewi mythology. So before that market, Nkwonewi was constructed and all, Edo had to give her permission. According to the elders, they went to her with some certain items and they informed her of what they want to use that place for, and she gave her permission, and she said that they can do it because it's basically all of us that have this deity. So once that thing happens, then now they've constructed. Now if you even go into that market, there's a little kind of a building that is still reserved for Edo Navy. So they did not permanently destroy her open, because the place is a very vast environment. And if we are being honest, that's around that the environment of that particular Ogweke in Ewepulobia was formerly owned by that deity. But because these deities are always, they are okay with basically allowing things they own for it to be used for the entire community, they can say no problem, the community can have it. So already the deity has been making sacrifices that we are not even aware of, because we do not document all those things and we do not keep to date with all those kinds of information. So that in Edo Navy, in one Navy, if you just ask around within one Navy, they would point you to her Edo, her shrine that is within that particular market. There's another shrine that is dedicated to Edo that also resides in Urago, I've forgotten, but there's another one there again. So you see, and that's not just them. In the Navy again, we have Oriabo. Another deity that owns that particular market is a deity that we call Ezemewi Ezedoga, the husband to Edo and the husband to Ogweze in Nnewi again. Then another market again that was owned, we call this market this deity Ogweke in Nnewi. We call the place a Ekochie in Otolo. So all these markets, they belong to a deity, and the beautiful thing there is that those markets generate revenue. People go there, people sell. The revenue guys, they come and they collect taxes from these people that are selling within that market, and they use that revenue that are being generated from those lands that are dedicated to deities to basically, enforce development in other parts of Nnewi or Anambra State as a whole. So already they are already making sacrifice and contributing to our development. Because if those markets, if they did not give the permission for those their historical sites, their lands or their shrines, parts of the Abo to be taken and used for markets or all these kind of schools and all, then the problem would be here that these deities are against progress, but they are not against progress. They are against us desecrating their interface. They are against us desecrating their shrines, but they are okay and comfortable with the idea of us doing things the right way. Oyibo people will say, give honor to whom honor is due. If you respect your father, you will not destroy your father's property without informing your father. It's all about courtesy. It's all about respect. So the first thing that is going to happen here is that the Equilobia indigenes and the people in charge needs to basically do these things the right way. Now, another historical context, I'm going to pop up the documentary here so that you guys will basically watch it with me and also see what transpired between the Breja company and Njaba when they came to basically build
when the German engineer was building the bridge. The river god Njaba objected. The workers understood. They ran away. The python which lives there was pushing them out. When they started construction, the bridge always collapsed. The white man went inside the water, but Njaba never wanted to open the door for him. Njaba said he does not know him. A long time passed before the white man sent his boys to me. I invited all the elders from our town. They are highly recognized people. They all came, and we went to the bridge.
So we see here that just like the white men basically came and did these things the right way, gave them 2,000 naira, which they used to basically buy these items and use those items to perform this rites. You see how they did this thing the right way. And of course, for some other reason, maybe it's just like a premonition, and Njaba declared that the man is going to die, but not necessarily it was the deity that killed the man, but for whatever reason, it could be his time to die, and it's just basically coincidence. And to basically prove that she knows what she's doing, or that to prove the existence of that deity, she probably gave the chief priest a premonition of the man's death. But we cannot necessarily know if the deity was responsible for it. And eventually, when the man died, the people brought back the man's properties and threw them inside Njaba. Now, these are people that respect other people's culture. But for us in this part of the world, we tend not to respond our own culture. We tend to disrespect our own culture and warm up to another man's culture. But another man is also warming up to our own culture. And the thing there about warming up to our own culture is that they even do it more than us in some situations. And we forget that the white man did not destroy his own system completely. He did not destroy his own indigenous beliefs. Rather, he pushed his indigenous beliefs under a very popular kind of belief systems that we all basically look up to. So this is how they did it. The calendar that we use, the festivals that they celebrate, like let me talk about the Feast of Lupercalia, which was basically turned into the Valentine's Day, Ostera, Easter, Day of the Sun, the Christmas. So all those kinds of festivals and beliefs, all those energy, enhancing other energies, because every festive periods are very energetic periods. They kind of how do I put it? It emanates a lot of energy. This is why festivals are important, not to us, but to also all these other belief systems. So this is what is happening here. Now, for us here, we've had this total disregard for culture because of we feel that what our culture is doing is not right and all these kinds of things. But the truth here is that in this particular case, already we know that these deities are contributing, even though that their contribution are not being popularized, because many people will not really like the idea that those lands were formerly owned by deities, and many people don't even know the history of such lands. So they basically hide all the origins, and people don't even ask about origins because we don't teach history in schools, and it's a problem. But that's aside here. Now, for me, I'm just suggesting how Opulobia indigenes are going to handle this case. Definitely, because we might not necessarily see it, they would not come and tell us, but it is going to happen. We sometimes think that these governors or the government do not respect culture, but they are the respecters of culture more than me and you. They would definitely send their emissaries, and behind the camera, behind the scenes, they are going to do things the right way. They are going to negotiate. They are going to find alternatives, and they are going to appease. They are going to perform sacrifices at the behind the scenes. So whatever we see tomorrow, just so that if they demolish that place, just so that they've removed the essence of that deity, it's a fact. So this is how they're going to do it. So what are the other aspects how Igbo deities can contribute to the development of an Igbo, or how they are already contributing. Now we talk about the economic opportunity surrounding the understanding the Igbo system, ordinary, Alose, and all those people. So originally, I've talked about the markets, which were originally owned by these deities. Now the next thing that is already happening is, ordinary and deities creating kind of a market structure within their shrines, because when you go to on a certain day to these shrines, you see women carrying some goods and selling them, because people come there to basically pay homage. So you see women and some men, you see some people selling yams, you see some people selling cola nuts, you see some people selling, all those kinds of items, and people are buying. So it's creating kind of a job, it's creating a job opportunity for these women and these men already. Now, what is going to happen here is that we can basically grow to a bigger level, because although it's limited, not everybody is permitted to do, sell things before in this kinds of area, because of people might just basically come out with some kind of call it madibo arocho, and basically come into that secret spaces and destroy or mess up the energy that it's within that sacred spaces. So it's quite limited, but already people are already selling, and while selling their property, they are also feeding their family from the proceeds of selling in those sacred spaces. So Alose already is on a very, even it's touching the lives of people the government cannot touch, even without us knowing. So because when you look at, they want to destroy that, people are like, of the ocean was the hejeba when they can go stop more these days, but already this system, we are benefiting from this system, and it's an oversight when you think, because that you're living your life in a certain way. There are people when you see them in the church, not to the church would even look at them in a certain way. These are the places they go to basically eat, to basically, if so people give them money. These are the places or the people these deities are touching their lives. They are touching their life. And it's something beautiful, because we might, we know that there are poor people in our system, but we might not know the extent. Because there are people like, if you can be suffering, but you look at yourself like, I think I'm better than this person, or I think I'm better than this person. It's not something that you're proud of, but it's a reality. So these deities are touching these people already. So we could not use, because the benefit of these deities are not being glamorous. You are not seeing that these places serve a purpose. One Dibia said something to me. When we went for Alpha, I escorted a friend though. He wanted to charge his phone, so he took out the socket, the TV cable. He took it out and plugged his phone. The man came back and said, "Who removed this thing?" I said, "It's this guy." He said, "Imorona ndi biareba, but iha kahaji pass the time." And sometimes when they come here, nga they busy. Hejiri fa edi. If you spoil this TV, when they come and the TV is not good, that they will not be cursing you, then their spirit will now be fighting you. Now, what he's just trying to say here is that these places act a purpose. It gives shelter to some animals. It gives hope to people. People eat here. People get at least 1,000 naira every day from these places. And when you destroy these places, you're at the same time making them to lose their source of living. You're making them lose where they eat their daily bread. You're making them lose where they come and they are happy, because these kinds of environments are beautifully happy. People go there without judgment. People go there and eat and drink and laugh. So when you destroy these places and these people come there and they see that this place has been destroyed by the government, by who, maybe somebody bought that land and decides to displace the people there, their spirit is bitter. Now that bitterness, it's what creates an energy that destroys us without us knowing. Because sometimes we think, it's the day said it's happening, but it is the bitterness of these people that the deity is taken. As again, two of them, they work together. That bitterness is what, because they say that when we talk about energy, where there is like mass murder, all those places, they create an energy that people that know how to pick that energy and use it can go there and pick that dangerous energy and use it. So the happiness, the positive energy that these kinds of shrines emanate is what the deity uses to function. So when we destroy this happy place for some people, or when we make careless statements, we forget that there are people that are eating from these places. Now we talk about agwo, akonuche agwo. In those days, a family is known for a particular thing. Every deity has an agwo. Every deity works with agwo, arobinago. Without them, I don't even think a deity will be that powerful. Without agwo, which agwo is the universal mind, akonuche, uche chukwu, the mind and the will of God. So when these things happen, so when we look at how can these deities develop our country, our states, and in Biafra land, we look at the agwo aspect of them. Through them, we can develop our akonuche. This young man said that he was in his dream that this guy that sang Oja piano, listen to him. Osiki na mo nyeriye Oja naka. The spirit gave him his flute. And look at how this boy blows this thing. Look at how beautiful he blows it. And he's a strong practitioner of ordinary. This is his agwo functioning. And these are things that they don't tell us. These are things that we've lost because of one thing, because we don't know and we do not care to know. And we keep encouraging the demolition of ancestral shrines and ancestral practices. Now, agwo has diverse aspects. We can use it to promote technology, to get technocrats. We talk about Alpha as a binary system. The computer system, what is it made of? Ones and zeros, codes. Now the Alpha is also a cosmological binary system that the Dibia interpret to the original language, Alpha. Because the language of Alpha is a language, the oldest language in the world, if I would say. But it has been lost. It's only been preserved by the Dibia. And some of these Dibias learned it through spirits. I say no more na kuziri Dibia otosi anonu afa okwu afa, because even also both we can't even interpret all those things that are saying. So we look at businesses, farmers, researchers, all those things can be promoted when we understand the Igbo ancestral system. Now let's talk about protection and injustice. No meaningful development can come into any nation, into any country, without first of all that nation, that country being at peace and they are ready to basically fight injustice and corruption to the fullest. If our politicians would agree to swear with ancestral oaths that are dedicated to an active Igbo deity, they would not misappropriate our funds. They would basically have their conscience and they would handle our funds and handle this nation with fairness and equity. In the Navy, they will tell you that during the Civil War, that one of the reasons, or one of what protected Navy was basically these two deities, Edo Navy and Uzukbe. I have not explored others. But according to the stories I've heard, they said that this place acted as a shield. When over fighter jets were passing, they would look at Navy map as some kind of a dense foresty riverine area. So the war did not consume Navy as much as it should, owing to the fact that Ojukwu, who declared the Nigeria-Biafra War, is an indigene of Navy. So by all accounts, Navy should have been devastated, but it wasn't. And this is why most of ancestral shrines were preserved. Navy ancestral shrines were preserved and still being preserved up to this day. because they did their own part, and we energize and thank them. So when we protect these shrines, these sacred areas, we are at the same time protecting ourselves. Not from the negative consequences, but this is our heritage. This is what we should tell our children. We should pass on these stories. And by passing on these stories, we are giving these people hope and giving them a sense of identity and belonging. Because when you understand your indigenous system, you can be proud of it. And when you're proud of your indigenous system, you can now look for ways to adjust it to make it better, not to suit the modern narrative. But by understanding the modern narrative, understanding your indigenous narrative, and bringing them together to present yourself as an undefeatable person. So if we are able to bring in all those things together, Igbo will be great. Igbo nation will be great. We'll be able to develop. Because what the white man did was to collect from us, collect from their system, collect from different systems, and brought it together. Now we can do the same thing. We should look at bringing what we've learned from the white man, bring their science, bring their medicine, bring their modern technologies, and bring in the one we have in our system. Physicalize what we do already spiritually, bring it together. This is how we grow the Igbo nation. This is how we present a strong Biafra land. So until next time, if you like this content, if you like pages that talk about Igbo spirituality and cosmology, that promote Igbo culture, that wants people to have and make informed decisions about Ordinary, the Igbo ancestral spiritual belief system, then you have to subscribe and follow me up on all my pages and read up on my blog. And until next time, yeah, guys, yeah.